July 14, 1877, Watseka, Illinois. A small farming town where nothing ever happened until a 13-year-old girl began dying every day. Lurancy Vennum was an ordinary child, the daughter of farmers, living a simple and quiet life. But one summer morning, everything changed. That day, Lurancy woke up different. Her eyes, once warm and innocent, now seemed vacant and cold, as if someone else were staring through them. "Mommy, Mommy," she whispered in a voice that wasn't hers. "I'm not Lurancy anymore. I'm your mother." Lorinda, her mother, felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, darling?" The girl smiled, but it wasn't her smile. It was the smile of a stranger. "Hi, Lurancy, you're gone. I'm Mary now." Lorinda couldn't yet imagine the horror about to unfold, because Mary Roff had died 5 years earlier at the age of 18 in that very same town, and now, somehow, she seemed to be back in another girl's body. What followed would defy everything medicine and science believed to be true. Doctors traveled from neighboring towns. Journalists came to document every detail. And one family would be forced to face the most terrifying question of all. Was it truly possible for the dead to return? The answer would forever change the way the world views life and death. But before that, we must understand how it all began and why, even today, more than 145 years later, this case still chills scientists across the globe. Lurancy Vennum had always been a healthy, joyful girl, beloved by everyone in Little Watseka. The daughter of Thomas and Lorinda Vennum, she lived on their modest farm, helping her mother with chores and playing with her siblings. Nothing in her young life suggested she would become the center of the most disturbing case of spiritual possession ever recorded in America. But on the morning of July 11, 1877, everything shifted. Lurancy was helping her mother in the kitchen when she suddenly froze. Her eyes stared into emptiness, as if seeing something invisible to everyone else. "Lurancy? Sweetheart, are you all right?" Lorinda asked, shaking her gently. The girl didn't answer. She was stiff, like a statue. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, without warning, she collapsed violently onto the floor, convulsing in terrifying spasms. "Thomas, come quickly!" Lorinda screamed in panic. Her husband rushed into the kitchen to find his daughter thrashing on the ground, foam spilling from her mouth. "Run and fetch Dr. Stevens now," he ordered their eldest son. By the time Dr. Stevens arrived, the convulsions had stopped. But something was horribly wrong. Lurancy was awake, staring at her family with blank confusion. She looked at her parents as though they were complete strangers. "Who are you?" she asked in a voice colder, older, entirely unfamiliar. "Why are you in my house?" Lorinda burst into tears. "Lurancy, darling, we're your parents. You're home." The girl laughed, but it was a chilling, adult laugh. "No, Lurancy is gone. She's not here anymore." Dr. Stevens felt his stomach twist. In over 30 years of medicine, he had never seen anything like this. Yet what was about to happen in the coming days would prove far more terrifying. In the days that followed, the Vennum household turned into a place of fear. Lurancy no longer recognized her parents, her siblings, or even her own room. She wandered through the house like a visitor, touching the furniture curiously as though she had never seen it before. "This house is lovely," she remarked one morning, "but it isn't mine." Lorinda clasped her hands in despair. "Lurancy, please stop playing this game. You're frightening your mother." The girl gave her a look filled with pity. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I truly am not your daughter. My name is Mary Roff. I'm 18 years old, and I live on Main Street." Lorinda turned pale. Everyone in Watseka remembered Mary Roff, a young woman who had died 5 years earlier after suffering seizures and mysterious fits of madness. But how could Lurancy know that? Lorinda whispered to her husband. Thomas tried to keep calm. "Mary Roff is gone, sweetheart. She's been dead for years. You're Lurancy Vennum, our 13-year-old daughter." The girl shook her head with conviction. "No, sir. I know who I am. I know I'm dead. But for some reason, I am here in this body." Dr. Stevens, who had been observing closely, felt a shiver run through him. He had been Mary Roff's physician before her death, and now, before his very eyes, this young girl seemed to carry Mary's spirit. Her gestures, her tone of voice, even the way she smiled, everything was eerily identical to Mary. "I need to perform a test," he murmured. "Mary," he asked cautiously, "can you tell me about your family?" The girl's eyes lit up. "My parents are Asa and Minerva Roff. I have a sister named Nervia, though we always called her Nervy, and my brother's name is Frank." Doctor Stevens's heart pounded. Every detail was correct. But how could a 13-year-old farm girl from an unrelated family possibly know the private names of the Roffs? The mystery was only deepening. The very next day, Dr. Stevens returned with objects that had once belonged to Mary Roff, items completely unknown to the Vennum family. He placed a silver brooch on the table. "Do you recognize this?" The girl's face lit up instantly. "My brooch," she exclaimed, clutching it with tenderness. "Mother gave it to me for my 16th birthday. I wore it every day." Dr. Stevens was speechless. The brooch had indeed been Mary's. He then presented a small hand mirror. "My mirror," she said without hesitation. "I always kept it on my dresser. Nervy used to borrow it again and again." Once more, the detail was true. Finally, he produced a family photograph taken shortly before Mary's death. "Do you know these people?" he asked. The girl's eyes filled with tears as she held the picture. "Daddy, Mommy," she sobbed, "how I've missed you. And look at Nervy, she's grown so beautiful." One by one, she pointed to each figure, naming them correctly and recalling intimate stories about each of them. Dr. Stevens whispered to himself, horrified yet fascinated, "I am witnessing something that defies every law of science, and the most devastating proof was still to come." The Vennum family was living through a nightmare. Their daughter, Lurancy, seemed to have vanished, replaced by a stranger who insisted she was a young woman long dead. "She won't even eat the food she used to love," Lorinda lamented to Dr. Stevens. "She refuses her oatmeal, but asks instead for tea and toast, things Mary Roff always ate." Even the way she spoke was different. Thomas noticed it too. "She talks as though she were an older person. Her words, her manner, they're not Lurancy's." Indeed, Mary spoke with the maturity of an 18-year-old. She addressed the Vennums formally as Mr. and Mrs., a courtesy utterly foreign to the spontaneous child they had raised. But most disturbing of all was her constant longing. "I need to go home," she begged each day. "My parents must be worried about me." When the Vennums explained that her parents were long dead, Mary grew confused. "Dead? That can't be. I saw them just yesterday. They're waiting for me at the house on Main Street." Dr. Stevens realized it was time to take a bold step. He decided to contact the Roff family. At first, Asa and Minerva Roff refused to believe such a story. But when Stevens described the private details Mary had revealed, Asa finally agreed to a meeting. "If she truly is our daughter," Asa said grimly, "I'll know it the moment I see her." The first meeting the next afternoon, Asa Roff arrived at the Vennum home, nervous and skeptical. He entered the parlor where Mary, inside Lurancy's body, was sitting quietly with some sewing in her lap. The moment she lifted her eyes and saw him, her reaction was instant and overwhelming. "Daddy! Daddy!" she cried, leaping to her feet and rushing into his arms. "I knew you'd come for me." The stoic, unemotional man who had buried his daughter 5 years earlier broke down in tears. The way she called him Daddy, the way she clung to him, even the faint fragrance that seemed to emanate from her, it was all unmistakably Mary. "My God," Asa whispered, trembling. "It's really you, my daughter." To be absolutely certain, he decided to test her. "Mary," he asked, "do you remember your last birthday?" Her expression softened into a bittersweet smile. "Of course. Daddy, you gave me the blue dress I wanted so badly, and Mommy baked my favorite cake, the chocolate one with strawberry frosting. Nervy helped me blow out the candles." Asa turned pale. Every detail was correct. "And do you remember what happened to Mittens the cat?" he pressed. Mary's smile faded. Poor Mittens. He got trapped in the barn. I tried to rescue him but fell and hit my head. You were so angry with me." Ace's tears fell freely. Only Mary could have known that incident. It was a family secret, never spoken of outside their home. "Daddy," Mary whispered, taking his hand, "I missed you so much. I could see you, but I couldn't touch you. Where I was, it was beautiful, but so lonely. They told me I could come back for a while, but only in another body." Dr. Stevens, watching closely, documented every word. He knew he was witnessing something that could change the course of science and faith forever. Asa Roff could no longer deny it. Whatever mystery lay before them, the soul inside young Lurancy's body was his daughter Mary. "I must take you home," he said firmly. "Your mother and Nervy must see you with their own eyes." The Vennums were distraught. "But she's our daughter," Lorinda protested desperately. "You can't take her away." Mary approached Lorinda gently, her tone soft and respectful. "Mrs. Vennum, I know you love Lurancy dearly, but she is safe where I was safe and at peace. I promise she will come back." The promise seemed impossible, yet there was something in her voice that made even Lorinda hesitate. After much debate, the Vennums agreed to allow Mary to visit the Roffs. When the day arrived, Mary was overcome with joy. "Finally, I'm going home," she exclaimed as they approached the Roff residence on Main Street. Without hesitation, she ran through the front door, past the parlor, and straight up the stairs as though she had walked that path 1,000 times before. "My room!" she cried, bursting into what had once been her own bedroom. "It's exactly as I left it." There, waiting in the room, stood Minerva Roff. The moment Mary saw her, both mother and daughter dissolved into tears. "Mommy, my dear Mommy," Mary sobbed, throwing herself into Minerva's arms. "How I missed you." Minerva clutched the small body, forgetting for an instant that it wasn't her daughter's flesh she held. "Mary, my sweet Mary, you've come back to us." Nervy, Mary's sister, stood by, torn between disbelief and joy. Mary turned to her, smiling through tears. "Nervy, you've grown, but you still have that mischievous smile I always loved." She hugged her sister tightly and whispered, "Thank you for taking care of my things." Then, without hesitation, Mary walked straight to her old dressing table. She opened a hidden compartment and pulled out a small diary. "I always kept this here," she said, leafing through its pages. "Nervy, remember when I wrote about that boy who liked me?" Nervy gasped, her eyes wide. "You wrote about William Turner," she whispered. "That's right." "And I told you I'd never tell anyone," Mary answered with a secretive smile. Page after page, she recalled entries only Mary herself could have written. The room fell silent. Even the skeptics could not deny what they had witnessed. Dr. Stevens carefully recorded every moment. He knew that in that small room, in a modest house in Illinois, he was watching history unfold, the most compelling evidence, yet that life continues beyond death. And what came next would push the boundaries of belief even further. That evening, Mary sat on the bed that had once been hers. Her eyes glistened, not with fear, but with a strange serenity. "When I died," she said softly, "it wasn't as terrifying as I thought it would be. I felt an immense peace, as if I were floating." The Roff family leaned in, listening in silence. "I could see you crying around my bed," she continued. "I wanted so badly to tell you that everything was all right, but I couldn't. Then a brilliant light surrounded me, and I was carried to a place more beautiful than anything on earth." Dr. Stevens interrupted gently. "What was this place like, Mary?" Her face lit up. "It was like an endless garden filled with flowers I had never seen before. There were many people there, peaceful, kind souls. I met my grandparents, the ones who had died when I was little." At these words, Minerva burst into tears. "You saw my parents?" Mary nodded. "Yes, Mama. Grandpa said he was proud of you. And Grandma asked me to tell you that her apple cake is waiting for you." The room froze. Only Mary could have known that her grandmother's apple cake was a cherished family secret. "But I couldn't rest completely," Mary went on. "I saw you all grieving, and I longed to comfort you. Then a being of light came to me. It told me I could return for a little while, but not in my own body. Dr. Stevens leaned forward. So you chose Lurancy's body? Not exactly, Mary explained. Lurancy was very ill, close to death. Her soul was weak, ready to leave. I was given the chance to enter for a time to say goodbye to you. Ace's voice shook. Are you saying Lurancy is dead? Mary shook her head. No, Father. She is safe where I was, at peace. When my time here ends, she will come back. The family sat in stunned silence, absorbing the impossible. When will that happen? Nervy asked hesitantly. Mary smiled, though her eyes held sorrow. When I have done what I came to do and I have comforted you and proved that death is not the end. What the Roffs didn't yet know was that Mary's presence inside Lurancy's body would last far longer and reveal far more than anyone had imagined. Mary remained with the Roff family for nearly 3 months, and during that time, extraordinary things happened. She remembered every corner of the house as if she had never left. She greeted neighbors by name, recalling conversations and private jokes from years before. She knew where every object belonged, even those tucked away in drawers no outsider could have discovered. But more than memories, it was the presence of Mary that transformed the household. Minerva Roff, who had sunk into deep despair after her daughter's death, began to smile again. She helps me in the kitchen, Minerva confided to Dr. Stevens. She sings the same songs, tells the same little jokes. It's as if Mary never left us. Double quotes Asa Roff, once a hardened and bitter man, felt his heart soften. My daughter has proved there is life after death, he said solemnly. Now I know we will be together again. For the Roffs, these months felt like a miracle. But Mary herself sensed the limits of her borrowed time. I can't stay much longer, she admitted one morning in May. Lurancy is calling. She wants her body back. The family begged her to remain. We just got you back, Nervy cried, clinging to her. Mary hugged her sister tightly. I will always be with you, even if you cannot see me. And one day, when your time comes, we'll meet again in that beautiful place. On May 21, 1878, Mary said her final goodbye to the Roff family. Her farewell was filled with tears, but also with hope. Remember, she whispered, death is only a transition. Love never dies. Then she returned to the Vennum home, where the story would reach its astonishing conclusion. Back at the Vennum home, Mary seemed calm, almost prepared for what was about to happen. She lay down on the bed, closed her eyes, and whispered softly, Thank you for letting me stay. Now it's time for Lurancy to return. Her body trembled slightly. Then, opening her eyes one last time, Mary whispered, Until we meet again. Moments later, her eyes closed, and the room fell into silence. When they opened again, it was no longer Mary looking out, it was Lurancy. Mommy? Daddy? She said in her own innocent voice, Where have I been? I had the strangest dreams. Lorinda collapsed into her daughter's arms, weeping with joy. Lurancy, my darling, you're back. Thomas embraced them both, overcome with emotion. You were so ill, my child, but now you're safe. Lurancy blinked in confusion. I remember a beautiful place, she murmured. There was a kind young woman named Mary. She said she was going home for a while. Dr. Stevens examined her carefully. To his astonishment, Lurancy was completely healthy. No convulsions, no seizures, nothing but normal vitality. It was as though the past 4 months had been erased. What day is it? She asked. When told it was May 1878, she gasped. She thought it was still January. The aftermath from that day forward, Lurancy lived a long and healthy life. She grew up married and had children of her own. She never again experienced seizures or strange possessions. Sometimes she dreamed of Mary Roff, but always as if Mary were a beloved friend she had met somewhere beyond this world. The Roff and Vennum families remained close for the rest of their lives. Asa Roff returned our daughter to us, Minerva later said, and Mary returned our peace. Dr. Stevens, who had documented every detail with painstaking care, published the first scientific record of spirit possession in America. His work would inspire generations of researchers into the mysteries of consciousness and survival beyond death. This case, he wrote, proves that love can reach across the grave, that consciousness does not end when the body dies. Today, nearly a century and a half later, the case of Lurancy Vennum and Mary Roff is still studied worldwide. It remains one of the most compelling and chilling pieces of evidence for life after death ever documented. And Mary's message continues to echo through time. Death is only a transition. Love never dies.